Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining me from. Let's give it a minute or so for everyone to join in, and we can get started with our today's webinar. So today's webinar is more around AI, and there is a new agentic AI checklist which has come, or the book that we have that is there that we're going to be showcasing, which is called Guide Securing Agentic Applications Guide. So I'm going to be talking about that, and we'll be discussing more around it. Now let's see. Oh, we have a good number of audience. We'll just give it one more minute and get started. Meanwhile, can you just tell me where all you are joining me from? You can put it in the chat box or no. Or maybe, oh, okay, I think we don't have an option to allow chat. But let's get started. I can see that we have a good number of audience today. So, a little bit about myself before we deep dive into the session and talk more about Agentic AI Security Guide. I'm a staff developer advocate at Snake. My name is Vandana, and I'm also part of open source communities like OWASP, OpenSSF, Black Hat, and a few other conferences around in India. Um and that's a bit about me. Now, while we talk about the securing agentic AI applications, this is something which has come at the right time because that's something which is talk of the town where people are talking about that, oh, I want to know about agentic AI. What is agentic AI? And how do I deal with it? What are the things that I need to take care of? So let's talk a bit about what exactly it talks about and what it says. Now, when I talk about it, this particular book or guide, whatever we call it as, because some people call it as testing guide as well, or a guide for securing agents. Now, this guide talks about that agentic AI is not just about chatbots. It's much more than that. There are autonomous decision makers which are part of the memory. There are tools, there are authority mechanisms that we take care of. Now, without guardrails, agents are like interns with root access and kind of an addiction which is there. So this guy talks about that how can we design the secure patterns. Very important that we understand these different patterns for agentic architecture. It also talks about guidelines for secure development, deployment, and runtime when we are using LLMs. Now, these are some very, very high level things that I'm talking about. But if we talk in deep, what exactly it covers the architecture first approach. It breaks down the agentic systems into key components like LLM, memory, orchestration, tools that are which are there for different functions, and it also maps specific threats to each of those architectures. Now, let's do this. Let me actually share that with you so that you have a view that what I'm talking about and what I'm trying to share here. 1 minute, let me just share it with you. Okay, there you go. So here, if you see, it talks about securing agentic architectures and how exactly developer can use it as a guideline. Because when we talk about LLMs, AI, there are people behind the development, whether it's developers, whether it's testers, or anyone else. So that's when the guide is designed for AI, ML, and engineers, security architects, DevSecOps teams. There are people who are tool builders or AI framework developers, a technical lead who are working with agentic AI systems. So it actually covers all those details. Now, why it matters and why we are talking about in this monthly webinar series, because that's something which is going to help people who are working towards AI. And every company that we are talking to, they are using AI in some way or the other, or LLM in some way or the other. So it's best that we get to know about the resources which are already there and leverage them to the best. Now, uh, so why does it all matter? So with agentic AI, we're growing power. Like we are seeing there's a growing power. But then, while that's there, with great power comes great responsibilities. So with these systems can automatically interact with APIs, where it can generate code, it can persist the memory. So it creates the entirely new attack surface, such as a prompt injection, memory poisoning, impersonation, tool misuse, even hallucination, which actually driving the actions. These are some of the things that we have already covered in our uh, past session. If you've not attended, you can actually go back and check the recording from our last month, where we covered the OWASP LLM top 10 in a nutshell. So it can help you. And if you have any feedback, you can actually reach out to me at any time on my LinkedIn, on my Twitter, anywhere, and we'll be more than happy to take your inputs and feedbacks. So this guides help team secure agentic AI applications before they become or become as part of the autonomous risks which are there, providing practical patterns, controls, and validations to build the trustworthy and resilient intelligence systems. Because if you see here, it talks about enhanced security actions for agentic AI systems. So if there's a single agent system, multi-agent system with central orchestrator or swarm orchestrator, it talks about all of those details. And what are the key capabilities, operational capabilities like API access, code execution, web usage. Um, so all of these details are covered in detail. There are like in-depth information which is there. It also talks about an important topic, which is agentic AI and supply chain. Now, why it's so important? Because while we talk about code, we are using the code in one way or the other as a supply chain ecosystem. We are building the software, we are shipping it to people. Now, when we talk about AI, we're just building a small piece and then giving it to many people to use it. So it becomes even the more important that we concentrate on every bits and pieces of our code that we are working towards. And at the same time, the kind of environment that we should be leveraging. Because I've heard people saying that with AI, I don't need to worry about anything. AI will take care of everything. So while it talks about that, oh, AI will take care of everything, remember, AI will learn from the information that we will share. So if we share garbage information, it will actually give you that garbage details only. So LLMs as brains, but then at the same time, it needs to get the right information. It's like a kid that we're trying to train in one way or the other by providing the information. So if we don't train it right, it will not give us the interpreted goals that we want to achieve or the kind of plan that we want. Let me just give you an example. For like we are going for a vacation and we ask our LLMs, that's the most basic ones, where can you please create an itinerary for so and so place like Zurich, because I was talking to Marina and she said she's in Germany, and then from Germany to Switzerland, how far would that be? Now, uh, what are the mode of transport that will be there? How long will it take? All of those questions I might not ask, but I'll say that can you create an itinerary? So then LLM comes back and says that, oh, these are the ways that you can go. And then somebody trains it saying that, oh, you can go by walk also. Now, technically, can you walk? Maybe yes, we can walk, but then for how long? How many breaks we're going to take? How many days it's going to take? How tired would be? Then it might not even guess it. So there are ways, there are risks that are involved. So this guides talk about that. Yes, LLMs are good, but then they need to have the right kind of information. Then there are orchestrators which actually can route the task across multi-agent teams which are there. And then it talks about short-term and long-term memory that can be poisoned or even leaked. So that information can be leaked as well. Now comes the point where while we talk about tool integration, so it talks about how APIs, file systems, database, IoT systems, which are very very important, that can be done. Now if you see on screen, it talks about agentic applications for red teaming and behavioral testing. So all those things are something which is very very important, where we talk about that, oh, these are the applications that we are using, and this is how these multi-layer security can be applied to the applications. And if we don't do it, then we might be susceptible to maybe a breach or information leak. And this guide also covers the different kind of patterns, like sequential agents, hierarchical planning, uh, collaborative swarms, and even talk about tools like LangChain, Crew AI, MetaGPT, AutoGen. There are many tools that are there. And the most important thing is to cover about threat modeling. And threat modeling is so underrated in this area, where we've been seeing it for a very long time, but then still we see a lot of security issues coming up. So this guy covers about threat modeling, prompt hardening, memory compartmentalization, and HTML integration. So all of these details are there in this guide. It also talks about hardware, how exactly we can, harden the virtual machines, because there are times, especially for me, I'm a person who, if I want to understand something, I would use my virtual machine and run the whole architecture and play around with it. So how can I do that? And if there are multiple tools for deployment, for SaaS, for DAST, or like software as a service, or static application security testing tools that we are using, or dynamic application testing tools that we are using, or for supply chain scanning, we are using Sneak or Pip Audit or any other tool, it actually talks about that, covers all those details. So it's a beautiful guide, which is just a small 80 pager, where we can cover it in 2 or 3 days. But yes, that's something which gives us actionable insights about whether it's architectural pattern, or about different things that are part of the LLM ecosystem. And at the same time, it also talks about enhanced security for the different agent types that are there, whether which I was talking about, like single agent, multi agent, or hierarchical or swarm kind of an architecture. And when we talk about all of the good things, it talks about tool abuse scenarios as well, because we have seen cases where there are rogue agents which are there, and how we can mitigate those rogue agents. Now, I'm going to stop and ask if there are any questions. You can raise your hand and I can unmute, and you can actually share maybe something that you have seen might actually be very, very important for other people. This is just a half an hour session, but I want to make sure that at least some input that you actually take out of this. Okay. There are two people who have questions. Can we get the link of past recordings here? Yeah, absolutely. I will share the recording before this session. I think you can take you you can actually take this paper. Let me just share that link with you. OWASP securing agent applications. Let me just give you the link. So you can actually download it on the website. If you go, you can download there. On the right hand side, there is an option to download. So if you see this is a downloaded PDF that is there. Now for all the past recordings, we will share it with you today itself. All right, thank you. Now, coming back to our presentation, why it's so critical that we are talking about in this session, because it's just released 2 days back. See, there are autonomous agents which are moving from labs to production, and there are co-pilots, AI dev tools, finance bots, there are customer service agents, and even internal orchestrators. So without proper security, agents may leak sensitive information or sensitive data across different sessions that are there, different users, or even different tools. I don't want my information to be shared with any other user. So I want to be very, very particular about it. Talk about prompt injection. That's become so important that everyone is saying that prompt injection is about security and it's about LLM security. But then there are other issues as well. But it also brings API injection. So, more of it, hallucination logic, which can turn into system failures. So, these hallucinations are also important to be addressed. There are tool integrations that can, while we are integrating them, that can be, that can turn into malware pivots. Do we want that? Absolutely no. So, while we are fancying about all the AI tools and AI technology which is there, we need to understand that with the greater things, we need to understand what can go wrong with it. So this guide, OWASP guide, enables organizations to move fast without breaking things, establishing the proactive controls before these agents act on their own. So we can train them right. And security isn't just a patch, it's a pattern. With AI, agentic AI, there is a great demand of layered defense, which is embedded across architectural code, memory, tools, and orchestration. And while we talk about architecture, we need to have right guardrails as well, which must follow agents everywhere, wherever we are placing the agents during planning, during prompting, during memory updates, and even the real world tool interactions. We need to have the right guardrails. We cannot trust what we can't trace. So observability and auditability are as critical as LLM accuracy. So we need to have both of them at every point that we are embedding our LLMs or agentic AI agents that we are talking about. And agent identity totally matters. We need to use cryptographic signatures and runtime markers to prevent any spoofing or rogue activity which we might have missed. Because that's something which looks so nice, so accurate. But what happens next? Uh, we are leaving a lot of traces of ourselves, lot of details outside, which might not be good, which is something which we might don't want to miss out on. Now, I'm going to stop and ask if there are any questions around it. I've shared the details about this agentic AI guide, or OWASP Securing Agentic Application Security Guide, and I've shared that why it matters. Now? I hope all of these things you know that what is an agentic application. Now, if you don't know, I'll share that as well. There's question. Answer live, answer live, answer live. Okay, perfect. I have given. Thanks, Marina, for sharing those details. Now, agentic applications are workflow driven. They are memory based or memory enabled AI systems where an LLM or large language model don't just answer questions, it plans and executes action across steps. Use tools, APIs for search, databases, emails, Slack, it also retain memory across sessions or users. It interacts with human and other agents. It also modifies the environments, whether it's code, systems, infrastructure. And at the same time, if I have to give you an example, think about Copilot. So Copilots schedule meetings, write code, update CRM, and order a coffee all at once. So now think what happens when one of the agent goes rogue. It could be a problem. That's why this guide actually talks about LLM core, orchestration, reasoning and planning, memory, tool integrations, and how we can secure them. All of the six food items from the buffet, that what are that? So it talks about all of that. And it tries to address the threat taxonomy as well, which is around memory poisoning, tool misusage, privilege compromises, cascading hallucination, or identity spoofing. That's something which is becoming very, very big. Now, all of these details, whatever I'm saying, it talks about all of these. If you see these agents framework, it talks about it, what they do, and what are the platforms which are available, and what are the components there which are there. So it talks about each one of it. so that you have a better understanding that if, let's say, you're using one of these things, how you can secure your agents, and how can it be helpful for our developers, because it talks about secure development, whether it's input validation, error handling, uh, secure key management. That's something I think I did not say, but yes, least privilege is, again, it implies to the AI as well, or these agentic uh, AI systems as well, or agents as well. Okay, now there are more questions. Let me check. What are the questions? Okay, that's being answered by Marina. Perfect. That's something, this guide is a guide which we can cover it up in a day or so. We can understand that, as part of every phase or every piece, for whether we are using during the software development, or while we are using it during the third party components usage, or when we are actually hardening our environments, we can pick this guide and leverage it. Okay, now I'm going to stop, because these are some pointers that I wanted to share with you, because these are the pointer which I thought that's very, very important. And a lot of time what happens is that the resources are there and we miss out on knowing about them. Like when I started off in AppSec, I didn't know there's a testing guide that exists, OWASP testing guide. And I created a big list of test cases, and my boss said, no, there's already a guide that exists. Maybe you want to help that enhancement. But before that, I didn't know that these are the resources that existed. So these are the resources which are already here, and they can help you. So leverage it, understand how it serves your purpose. There are different tools which are mentioned, which might help you as well in your AI journey or agentic AI journey. All right. Anything, any story that you might have, or any questions that you might have for me, that you might want to discuss, or you might want to share a feedback that, oh, Vandana, this is something which you forgot and you should be checking out. Anything. Because this guide, actually, if you go through it, it'll be a good um, refresher for all of us, because it talks about the case studies as well, whether it's issues with, or real world issues with orchestrator agent, or email agent, or calendar agent. I've seen goof ups around calendars for sure. And then there are Slack bot agents that we've created. So a lot of goof ups are there if we don't secure them properly. So it's very important to have that understanding. Now, uh, as I think I don't see any questions, but what I'll do is I'll just share some of my key takeaways from the session, that agentic apps need security that travels with them. From plan to prompt, to tool, to memory, to decision, we need to have everything. AI security is not LLM security. Memory, tool orchestration, identity handling, context propagation, they are all creating new risks. So AI security is not LLM just security. Trust is built through control and observability. We can't say that I have this agent installed, I have AI, and I am relaxed. No, we need to have audit trails. We need to have runtime restrictions. We need to have fine-grained corporate policies for it, because without policies, nothing is going to work out for sure. You can't bolt on safety later once everything is done. So security must be architected from the first prototype that we're talking about, that I need to have this thing. Let's talk about it. So it's very, very important to address those things. All right. I think this is something which I wanted to share. I've shared the link as well with every one of you around um, Agentic AI guide. So probably you should actually check that out. All right. Okay. Really great. Thank you. There is a question where how can we restrict chatbot AI agents from reading .env files, keeping in the current workspace? So while we talk about this question, remember one thing, that we need to first understand the architecture. of the a bot that we are giving the access. Because if we give the if there is the restricted file, we it will not read it. So simple, if I understand correctly, that while we talk about agentic AI systems or agents which are there, they are able to read files from the workspace, whether it's for context or for maybe a code generation. So when they are doing it, which means they are receiving prompts where we do have .nv files. Now, I hope this is what I understood, Ritesh, correctly. So, what we can do is we can use Sandbox, which can be actually monitored. We can have .nv files which are outside of the working directory, which is accessed by the agent, so that they are not accessing the .nv file. Also, we can actually mount volumes with read-only access and exclude the sensitive files which are part of the containers. Now, this is something which I understood, but then yes, there are multiple ways that I can be there. And let me actually share an LLM security. There are a lot of blogs that we have written around security, so you should actually definitely check around it. Let me just give you this link. I hope these blogs will help you. But yes, Ritesh, we're almost at the top of the hour. If you have any more questions, I would love to actually chat with you after the session on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I help answer all the questions around it. That's very interesting. Any further questions? All right. If we don't have any further questions, we're gonna convene for the day, and we're gonna meet next month, where I will be sharing the learnings from the Black Hat conference. Because next month we will be next week actually we will be at Black Hat and DevCon. There'll be a lot of discussions around AI, LLMs, and different architectures. So we'll be more than happy to share all those learnings and information and the kind of topics that come, so that you have all those details. Okay, there's someone who says that this guide covers a very broad scope of securing agentic AI systems. Thanks, Irshad. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. It was wonderful to have you. And I look forward to any feedback, any inputs from all of you, and any stories that you might want to share with me around your AI journey. Thank you so much.